Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to Hajj Quarter webinar in partnership with Qatar FinTech Hub, exploration of Australia-Qatari FinTech and Tech future. First, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land of which I stand on today, pay my respect to their elders, past and present. It is a pleasure to bring you this webinar with our partners, the Qatar FinTech Hub, and it has been great to work with an excellent team to learn more about the FinTech ecosystem in Qatar and help Australian FinTech startups expand to that market. It is a pleasure to have our guest speakers with us today. My name is Ayman Hamdouna. I am the CEO and co-founder of Hajj Quarter and a partner of Muir. In today's webinar, we will be covering a few points. We will talk about the overview of the Qatari-Australian relationship. We will talk about the opportunities for Australian technology company in Qatar. And we will dig deep into a discussion with our panelists and showcase an Australian fintech that has been going through the Qatari FinTech Hub program. And finally, we will answer your questions that you have submitted throughout the registration. Additionally, on the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box where you can leave us questions throughout the conversation, and we will hopefully be able to attend to them in our panel discussion. Now, it is an honor and it's a privilege to have with me our guest speakers, His Excellency, Mr. Jonathan Muir, Australian Ambassador in Qatar, Mr. Abdulaziz Al Khalifa, Chairman of FinTech Task Force in Qatar, as well as the CEO of Qatar Development Bank, Henk Hogendom, Managing Director, Financial Sector at the Qatar Financial Center, Lana Khalaf, Country Manager at Qatar Microsoft, George Salim, Business Intelligence Manager at Qatar Development Bank and an advisor at Qatar FinTech Hub, as well as having Anthony Charles, who will join us showcasing his Da Vinci startup. How are you, everyone? Thank you so much for gracing this webinar with your presence. Let me start with talking a little bit about the Australian-Qatari relationship. It is without a doubt the relationship is very strong and growing. With common interest of the two countries, bonds have been strengthened, particularly in the sector of investment, economy, transportation, and academia. Mr. Jonathan Muir has been very generous with his time with me and generous with his time with us today, joining us to share a little bit about the relationship. Mr. Jonathan has previously served overseas at the Australian Embassy in Jakarta, and today he is the Australian Ambassador in Qatar. Without further ado, I will leave the screen for you to share with us a little bit about your experience in Qatar and the Qatari-Australian economic relationship. The screen is yours, Your Excellency.
Thanks very much, Ayman. And thanks very much for the kind invitation to talk to you today and to your listeners as well. I might quickly start with a bit of a snapshot as to where Qatar is up to economically. I think it provides a good background and it tells a good story, actually. So unsurprisingly, Qatar's economy did contract in 2020, but at an estimated 3%. This was significantly lower than the regional average. Most analysts predict a very solid rebound in 2021 of 2.5% growth in the year and growth in 2022 ahead of the FIFA World Cup at between 4 and 5%. And recently, all three ratings agencies reaffirmed Qatar's investment grade status, citing very strong projected revenues and large foreign currency reserves. Qatar's debt raising through the crisis has been heavily oversubscribed, and I think this signals pretty strong investor appetite and relative confidence in Qatar's economy. Qatar has actually mounted a very strong economic and health response to the crisis, and I think more recently we see a great rebound in LNG prices, which does bode well for Qatar's general economic outlook. On the Australia-Qatar economic relationship up to 2020, so despite the doom and gloom surrounding the global pandemic, Australia's annual two-way goods and trade with Qatar remained very strong and it registered a bit over 2 billion Australian dollars annually in the latest figures. This meant Qatar retained its place as the second largest trading partner in the Middle East and North Africa region, and Australia remained Qatar's 12th largest source of merchandise imports. Interestingly, I think for Qatar, the overall balance of trade registered around $200 million in a surplus in Qatar's favour, and this really was a function of strong growth in Qatar's services exports to Australia, which increased 5.5% even through 2020, and now sit at about $800 million. On the investment side, Qatar's investment in Australia is at around $3 billion. That's our estimate in property, logistics, energy and agriculture. And I think as a vote of confidence by Qatari investors in Australia's economy and place to do business. Last year, we welcomed a very large investment by Nebraska Power in Australia's largest wind farm at Stockyard Hill in Victoria. On that, it's commonly assumed that the relationship is dominated by trade in traditional commodities. It's true these are an important aspect of the relationship, but in fact, half our trade is in services, so mostly aviation services by Qatar and engineering services by Australia. And it's also worth noting that there is also very strong existing collaboration on science and technology research and innovation. In fact, over 24 Australian universities have undertaken joint projects with Qatari institutions in recent years, including last year. Australia's Curtin University and HBKU here launched a major joint project in tackling corrosion and materials problems in the oil and gas industry, just as an example. And I can also flag that there are also major investments, joint collaborative projects in the pipeline to tackle diabetes and chronic respiratory diseases. I think finally, I just wanted to highlight that while Qatar is a sizable market by value, we really shouldn't overlook its value or its role as a global hub. Its connectivity to markets globally really is an important part of its value proposition to Australian companies, and this applies to Qatar's excellent physical infrastructure, whether a port or airport or airline, but it's also important to note its growing role as a financial centre. So in conclusion, in all, there is plenty to be optimistic about in this space. There are strong complementarities and habits of cooperation already in place between Australia and Qatar. And although the relationship is strong, there's also plenty of scope to explore new opportunities. The most obvious of these are in the new economy, where Australia has globally recognised strengths and where Qatar has built strong infrastructure to facilitate collaboration and inbound investment.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Those are some solid facts, and it is a huge opportunity for further collaboration. I really appreciate those numbers, and I myself have learned a lot from the data that you have shared with us. Qatar is growing fast with active incubator, government representative initiative supporting the startup ecosystem, such as private investors, venture capitalists, as well as angel investors, along the Qatari FinTech Hub. To provide further insights, please welcome with me Mr. Abdulaziz Nasser Al Khalifa, Chair of Qatar FinTech Task Force and CEO of Qatar Development Bank. He is at the forefront of enabling the technology within the Qatari industries and market. So thank you again, Your Excellency, for this insightful words and the information that you have shared with us. As I mentioned, it's a great to see the collaboration that is already happening, and we look forward to contribute to the connection and the collaboration between Australia and Qatar through technology in general and FinTech in specific. And that will bring me to talk a little bit about the FinTech industry and the trends that are happening within the ecosystem. FinTech, when we say FinTech, is an industry with many trends, and those trends are creating their own industry by themselves. We can talk about neobank, challenger banks, personalized service offering, peer-to-peer transaction lending, mobile and touchless payment, buy now, pay later, digital currency, capital market for startups and SMEs, personalized wealth management, and insurance innovation. Australia does not lack contribution to those trends. In fact, Australia is one of the leading countries in fintech industry. We have over 733 active fintechs in Australia. On the top of those segments, we have payment, wallet and supply chain, lending, and data analytics. In 2020, in fact, consumer data rights, the CDR, went live for consumers of major banks and trusted accredited providers. We have seen through the pandemic an increase of 12% in paying consumers to fintech, and that bringing us to 39% in 2022. There is a broader outlook for Australian fintech who are looking to expand and go to international markets. We are looking at Ireland, Indonesia, and the Middle East. And that's one of the reasons we are hosting our webinar today, to increase the awareness of such market and its contribution into the global economy and into the Middle Eastern region. Fintech in Qatar. Qatar economy in general is one of the most competitive markets and economy in the region, as His Excellency has shared with us. They are close to Turkey, Kuwait, Oman, India, and Pakistan. A $2.1 trillion total market size. There is government support, such as the Qatar FinTech Hub, which is mandated by the Qatari Development Bank and supported by the Qatari Financial Center. And the Qatari FinTech Hub last year has received over 750 applications from early stage and mature fintechs from all over the globe. Over 72 countries have applied to this program. They have the FIFA World Cup coming in 2022, which is a great opportunity for many technology companies to contribute to delivering the world-class World Cup that we are all looking forward to watch some of the best players compete in the Middle East in Qatar. Qatar is a leading country in transport, as we all know, Qatar Airways, and media hub that can reinforce Qatar visibility in the region and all over the world. So now I would like to invite Anthony Charles, who is the Managing Director of FinTech Da Vinci. And this FinTech startup has been through the Qatari FinTech Hub, and he will be able to share with us his experience. The camera's here, have a seat.
Okay.
No worries. So thank you, Anthony, for joining us today in today's webinar. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. We're really pleased to be here today.
No problem at all. So could you please start with telling us about your experience with Qatar FinTech Hub and why did you choose the Middle East as a destination for expansion?
Okay, well, probably best to start talking about Qatar. Well, start on our decision actually to join the Qatar FinTech Hub. Well, we started engaging in Qatar in early 2019 through a mutual contact, mutual colleague who does some work there. I think when I spent some time in Qatar, what I discovered was a very, very, very strong carbon-centric market, and there was a lot of communication, a lot of talk coming out of the market as to how they were looking towards desensitizing, using innovation as to how they were going to desensitize the market to carbon. As I looked at that and started looking at some of the intelligence within the market and the quality of the people in the market and the quality of the services and the stability of the market, it became a very attractive proposition for us. For those that have looked at our product, we certainly have a very strong ambition to work with it, to disrupt and work with major events to actually help them change the way in which they monetize their audiences. And the other thing that was going on in Qatar is there was a very large event coming in 2022, being the FIFA 2022 Qatar World Cup. So that had some further interest to us as well. So that was very exciting. In terms of, through that, we felt that the best way to engage and build the relationships and the local knowledge within that market as a springboard for our MENA ambitions was to join to make application to join the accelerator or the accelerator program. Mm. And the experience in that has been really very positive. I think as founders of businesses, you tend to get very caught up in thinking markets are largely homogenous. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. And I think the experience within the Qatar FinTech Hub has been given us the opportunity to really understand a lot more about the cultural differences, the idiosyncrasies, the legal differences. You can stand back from afar and think, oh, it looks pretty similar. It's just a different part of the world, but it is quite different. And the knowledge base that sits and that's been made available to us within the program has been first rate. I think to that extent, as and when we springboard into that region, 6 months of effort will have saved us many years of heartache and probably many thousands of dollars in running down cul-de-sacs where we shouldn't go. So I think that local knowledge. The other bit that's come out of it, which has been extremely positive, is the access. We've had the opportunity, I think, to talk to every bank in Qatar. Mm-hmm. Don't ask me to name them all. There's a lot. It's been and significant businesses. So the ability to connect in a way that a young business from Australia wouldn't be able to is really accelerated, excuse the pun, into that environment. So that's been positive. The only disappointment of the whole thing is just not being able to get back to Qatar to visit my peers. I'm hopeful that this pandemic will be behind us soon. We're all vaccinated up and we'll have the opportunity to get back to Doha sooner rather than later to do some business, but also to meet the other people, the other groups. I think I really got to congratulate and thank the FinTech organisers, the FinTech Hub organisers. They've managed a lot of different time zones. From our perspective to look, I'm in Melbourne, I've got colleagues in London, that's 11 hours, Qatar in the middle, and we've got the US on the other side. So it's been a remarkable undertaking and really well delivered.
Thank you so much for sharing with us your experience and some of the greatest insight that you have left us with. It's correct, it is unfortunate that we are unable to connect with each other in person. However, luckily, we are in the technology age where we are able to connect virtually. And this is today is an example of such connectivity. As well as I would like you to share with us a little bit about your startup and what does your startup do, please? Well,
I think we're representing the Qatar FinTech Hub, so I'd like to say we're in FinTech. I've taken a different perspective to what many, I'd like to thank everybody who's out there. I'm not sure who's there. But I think if we look at Da Vinci, we provide smart cards and essentially a very smart payment device. And I'll get to the point where we talk about how we can resolve and solve payment card fraud and deliver enhanced services. But it's probably interesting to note when we reflect on what we're doing, it's very much a natural progression. I think if you're looking at a slide at the moment, you can see the progression that's happened over the last 70 years within computing devices, from the centralized, very large mainframes to probably the Big Bang, which was the decentralization and the delivery of the PC. That then became portable, smaller form factors, better battery power, better battery life lives, power consumption. That evolved into what we call the era of mobility. We've seen the iPad. I wouldn't really call it a mobile device. It kind of is, but doesn't fit in the pocket naturally. And that found its way to the mobile device. And eventually what we see is this form factor, this development is finding its way into a card. I think the things that are allowing this to occur is ultra low power consumption, much better battery life. To the extent we're looking at putting devices in that don't have that altogether, don't have power requirements altogether. The Da Vinci card, a couple of things I need to call out about that is in terms of a form factor, we're starting our development from where all the other form factors are ending up. Our foundation is in the security that sits within the device. If you think about a mobile device that was set up to communicate, a mobile phone was set up to communicate in the first instance, and security has become a problem. We've pivoted that around. We've got a very familiar form factor that starts with security first and drives applications and benefits second. In terms of the use case on that, well, we've started with identity protection. That's really fundamental. That's really where all fraud comes from. So we provide absolute security, identity protection and secure access to personal credentials. That's really enabled the establishment of what we call an over-the-top banking product, which can essentially wrap around all of a consumer, all of a user's cards to eliminate fraud, deliver greater convenience. At another stage, hopefully I get the opportunity to show you the card where all your cards can be provisioned into one secure card device, delivers that convenience. It provides a platform for enhanced services, whether that's consolidation data and financial planning, whether that's driving loyalty programs or merchant acquisition. So really what we have is we have a computer that fits in your wallet. and in terms of a highly secure computer that will fit in your wallet. So I'd like to thank you all. I know it's a very short time, so hopefully I've been able to offer some colour on the FinTech Hub and our participation. And again, I'd like to call out to the team at the FinTech Hub and thank you once again for your tireless efforts in pulling this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for joining us today. And it is fair to say that I have been introduced to Anthony through the Qatari team, and he lives around 10 minutes away from us. So again, I will give this to the technology and the connectivity. And with that presentation and showcase now, let's go to the panel discussion. We will actually dig deeper into the conversation. We will dig deeper into the conversation and we will ask questions to our dear panelists who are Henk, Lana, and George. Hello and welcome.
Hi.
Thank you, Ayman.
Thank you, Lana.
Hello.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Henk, for joining us. I will start with you, Lana, if you don't mind, as it's ladies first. Lana, could you tell us a little bit more about what technologies are receiving the highest support from the public and the private sector in Qatar and why?
Thank you, and I would like to welcome everybody on the call today. And I would like to start from the Qatar Vision 2030 and the ambitions and all what their excellencies have highlighted from Qatar Vision 2030 to the ambitions of Qatar as a country and the value and what they want to achieve. And with this, from human development to social, to environment, to economic, and when we say economic, is economic diversification and support to the financial sector and to many other industries. But mainly today, I would like to focus on the digital economy. And this is where we see definitely Qatar focusing on becoming a digital hub for the region, and even as you will see by the end of today's discussion in the world. And with this, Microsoft have actually invested heavily in Qatar, where we brought our global hyperscale data center. And I'm sure a lot of you know about Microsoft Global Hyperscale Data Center across the world. We are bringing and investing this data center to Qatar this year in year 2021. And actually, not only that, all the latest global services, cloud global services, we will have the biggest number of services in Qatar in particularly. And there is a reason for that. Now, at such times, it is critical. And as you can see, and as you highlighted, digital and technology is key enabler to our life, to how we live, how we communicate, to industries, how industries will be able to respond, recover, and reimagine for the future. And it's something to stay, and it's something that will enable not only the organization, but partners, startups, small and medium enterprise to think differently on how to use technology to enable different industries in Qatar and across the globe. So it's becoming core to everything we do. So what are the technology? This is why it's becoming core. But what are the technology? Today, we can see definitely cloud technologies from data and AI, data and artificial intelligence, to IoT, to blockchain, to containerization, app development, all of this on the cloud. I would like to give a couple of examples that we have seen the impact of technology and startups in Qatar in financial and in technology. We have a couple of startups who have actually started here, and I met them very recently. Today, they are becoming one of the, they really have turned up the startup to one of the most advanced partners in the country. How they utilize all their energy and they managed to do a leapfrog even on other partners in Qatar as a startup, because they have adopted fully on cloud. And they were able, especially during COVID and during such times, to enable their customers in just 5 days and 7 days to go applications live during such times. And they were able to enable these customers and organization with that, utilizing the power of the cloud. And as you know, data is becoming the oil of the future. This is where data and AI, machine learning, and many of these will be core to the development of the country. Microsoft in particular in Qatar, we are enabling and having a private-public partnership with many organizations, incubators, and one of them is Qatar FinTech Hub in order to enable startups in Qatar. And we are enrolling them in our Startup Global program. We're providing them all the support, all the mentorship, as well as a Azure Sandbox, which is access to our technologies to be able to test, deploy, and grow with the use of technology. We're extremely excited about what technology can do, and to startups in particular, and how you can come utilize this technology infrastructure that Microsoft is building in Qatar in order to accelerate the startup engagement in the country.
Thank you so much, Lana, for this answer. Actually, it is comprehensive and it gives the full spectrum of what technology company can expect when they go to Qatar, as well as Microsoft, as we all know, is at the forefront of building the technology of the future. So thank you again for joining us. I will now jump into Henk and ask you a question, if you don't mind. Henk, what are the synergies between Qatar and Australia that empower the collaboration in the fintech sector?
Yeah, thank you. So, well, we haven't seen so much of Australia here, so I would like to bring you guys over. So we are a small country with a lot of ambition, as you've heard. We are in a nation-building exercise. I think what we need most is talent, to attract talent to Qatar. And we have a lot of local talent, but that's probably not enough only to fulfill our ambitions. So in terms of collaboration, I would say, bring the Australians over and bring the innovation as well, and make sure that you not only service the market in Qatar, because that's an attractive market, but also the markets outside Qatar. So I think we have a good opportunity for innovative fintech companies from Australia to bring them here and offer them not only the Qatar market, but the wider market nearby. I think that would be a start. The other thing we can do, obviously, we are to a certain extent, we are competitors. You guys also produce LNG, and Qatar is at the moment the world's largest LNG producer. So I think that gives also a good connection for both countries. But we are a rich country. So what I recently discovered is that the Qatar Investment Authority, that's our sovereign wealth fund, is more and more interested in technology. So there are rumors of them setting up a specific fund. We also noticed that more banks are coming and that they would like to use our setup to set up funds specifically to invest in technology. So people from Australia, we can offer you opportunities, we can offer you access to the market, and we can offer you access to capital. I think that is the start of a collaboration. And of course, there are a handful of companies that I would like to bring to Australia as well. But I think the first part of collaboration is to bring you guys over and develop and pick the opportunities in our market.
Thank you so much, Henk. George, would you like to add some notes into that and tell us a little bit more about the fintech ecosystem, given that you're an advisor of the Qatari FinTech Hub?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayman. Well, good morning from Qatar, first of all, and good evening to all the guests, all the participants who join us from Australia. First of all, it's my greatest pleasure to take part in this webinar, organized and hosted by our partner in Australia, Hatch Porter, in order to position Qatar FinTech Hub and specifically Qatar Development Bank FinTech Incubator and Accelerator program. So as a government organization, mainly responsible to develop entrepreneurship in general and small and medium enterprises in order to ensure economic diversification in Qatar, QDB was mandated by the central bank to develop the national fintech strategy back in 2018. So we were keen as a strategy team to ensure our fintech strategy is perfectly aligned with the Qatar National Vision 2030. So as an outcome, we manage with the support of all the partners, all the local stakeholders and the foreign stakeholders to establish Qatar FinTech Hub in order to act as a catalyst to be able to transform Qatar financial services industry to become globally competitive. So we were keen also to enable the FinTech companies and give them a fair opportunity to tackle some local and global challenges. And when we talk about challenges within the FinTech industry, one of the greatest challenge is the FIFA World Cup 2022, which is one of the most prominent events that will be hosted in our country. So there is a great ambition to deliver, for instance, a cashless World Cup. And then there are some tremendous opportunities for FinTech companies who are specialized in the payment industry, for instance. And I was delighted to see Mr. Anthony Charles showcasing his experience since we managed in the first cohort of our incubator and accelerator program to incubate and accelerate a company like DaVinci. And I was also happy to see Anthony mentioning something very important. So as one of the beneficiaries of this program, he was able in a very short period of time to get access to all the local bank in Qatar. And then it's obvious for everyone that some of these local banks are recognized as regional banks. So for example, our country is proud in general to have a QNB, since Qatar National Bank or QNB is one of the leading banks in our region. So if such a company would have a chance to work with QNB in Qatar, the opportunity will not be limited to Qatar. And then I will leverage on what Mr. Hank has mentioned earlier, that Qatar is the launch pad for such promising business opportunity. So in order for us to your point, Ayman, in order for us to develop the ecosystem, the FinTech ecosystem, we have formulated a task force committee. So His Excellency Mr. Abdulaziz bin Nasser Al Khalifa, who is our CEO, is chairing this committee, and we have representation from all the local stakeholders, including all the financial institutions, definitely the regulator, who is the Qatar Central Bank, in addition to Qatar Financial Center, since Qatar Financial Center or QFC act as a licensing platform for foreign companies who have the interest to come to Qatar, get their companies established, and then accordingly launch their solution. And in addition to the local stakeholder, we also have global stakeholders. So we were very keen to establish a strong and strategic relationship with Microsoft, whereby we have recognized Microsoft as a technology partner for the Qatar FinTech Hub. And as an outcome of this partnership, in addition to what Ms. Lana has mentioned, startup companies or startup FinTech companies could have a golden opportunity to test their solution through the Microsoft Azure platform. So this opportunity cannot be availed in many countries. In addition to that, it's very important to mention that the government in Qatar is very much keen and supportive towards such an initiative. And for that reason, the pandemic did not stop us to launch our programs virtually and start getting connected with the global FinTech community in order to have a fingerprint on the global FinTech map.
Thank you so much for those insights and opportunities for Australian FinTech startups, as well as any technology startup. It was great as well to see that the government is pushing for a cashless society, and that was as well pushed with the pandemic and COVID. I want to come back to some of the FinTech opportunities and what you mentioned about Microsoft. Microsoft is doing a fantastic job with the startup ecosystem. Ms. Lana has shared with us, as well as we know Roberto is doing a fantastic job. Ms. Lana, could you tell us a little bit about the opportunities that George tapped on regarding how they can use your platform in order to test their solutions and build from Qatar?
Sure. Thank you. And I think George mentioned something very important is one, the FinTech opportunities, QNB being a leading bank in the region, as well as the need for touchless experience and new wallets and many other new, how to really incorporate digital into financial sector. But also, he mentioned the government. And this is where I would like to share as well, in addition to everything that we have mentioned, the government initiatives in the country. So it's not only that FIFA is coming to Qatar. Actually, Qatar wants to become a sports hub for the world. So it is FIFA coming in 2022, Asian Games coming later on that we want, and Qatar to become a sports. But this also entails many startups to come and offer, whether tech startup or financial startup, to come and serve this sector. So this is from sports, but also from smart city. And this is crucial. Imagine a smart city without a strong wallets or touchless pay and end-to-end use cases. We have launched in Qatar TASMO, which is Qatar Smart City, with more than 100 plus use cases. But not only that, for all the Australian startups, there is actually around 20%, or there is a certain number of use cases that are only targeted for startups. So they are really keen as a government to enable startups, to give them the opportunity to strive, utilize the power of technology in order to strive and provide them real opportunities. The same with Tautin in oil and gas. And His Excellency mentioned engineers and many other things. So this is the opportunity, because also in Tautin, not only they are providing digital opportunities for to enable technology to enable oil and gas, but also they're focusing on startups in particular. We also see somebody, I think Hank mentioned, attracting talent. And this is very crucial for Qatar, attracting talent, entrepreneurs, and startup. It's critical. And we'd love, and part of our enablement and opportunities is we don't only focus on technology. Yes, we offer the cloud, we offer the support on how to utilize data and AI, cloud, Azure, the platform, but technology alone is not a solution. This will enable you as an infrastructure. And then you have everything else in Qatar set up, from enablement to opportunities, as we have talked about, from the government to the infrastructure, from connectivity, but also to regulations from the regulators, and also how to enable skills and talent development in the country. And Microsoft have also are investing heavily with the startups as part of our public and private partnership with the Qatar FinTech Hub and the government, where we are launching a skilling program in order to enable people, reskill them, and attract talent to the country on the latest technologies that the country need to tackle such opportunities. So definitely with all of this happening, as well as the focus on sustainability, resiliency, and innovation, we see major opportunities with all the ingredients to nurture these startups in Qatar.
Thank you, Lana. What you have said is almost music to my ears and music to many of the audience here with us today. Australia does thrive with our sport tech solution, as well as the FinTech solution and the engineering, as His Excellency has shared with us. I do believe that there is definitely great opportunity for Australian to contribute to the mission and the vision of 2030 that is established by Qatar. And it's great to see the agility of the ecosystem, as well as the leaders within the ecosystem, to bring Qatar to become one of the global hubs to many of the industries that you have mentioned. Technology is an enabler, absolutely correct. It's all about the people, their solution, and what do they provide. I will come back a little bit to the FinTech ecosystem and the FinTech center of Qatar. And Henk, I would like to ask you a question. From your experience and working with financial sector, as well as enabling the FinTech ecosystem in Qatar, where do you think are the major gaps within the financial sector in Qatar? And what FinTechs would have the most opportunity to come and thrive in the short time?
I think a very relevant question. It's good to understand for the listeners that we have about 16 local banks and about 40 financial institutions on the QFC platform, mostly international banks, insurance companies. So there is a good number of banks. Given the fact that we are a small country and we are regulated by our central bank and the Qatar Financial Central Regulatory Authority, it is important for these institutions to be able to catch up with the technology. And you see everywhere in the world, technology is moving faster, regulations, are facilitating that a bit later. So it's good to mention, I don't know whether you're aware, but there is a cooperation between Qatar University and two universities in Australia, the Curtin University and the New South Wales University, and they have a joint project on open banking regulations. And that is currently taking place, that is funded by the Qatar Research Institution. So Qatar is eager basically to learn from these developments and also the regulations where you guys may be a bit ahead. Also, the central bank has announced that the sandbox regulations will be imminent. I think sometimes people think fintech is all about regulations only, and for sure, if you enter in the field of payments and cards and wallets, yes, those things are regulated because you want to protect the consumer. But there is a much wider opportunity as well. In our belief, 80% of the fintech companies are non-regulated. You're not dealing with money or directly with consumers. You are providing technology. And for those ones, and that ranges from insurtech to cybersecurity to facilitating asset managers. So all those opportunities are maybe not always highlighted, but there are great opportunities here. So also those sectors I would like to encourage to come to Qatar. We have family offices, investment houses. They all like that maybe artificial intelligence solutions to take investment decisions or whatever. There is a great opportunity, much more than only payments and cards. So it's quite wide. I would like to encourage any of your listeners, if there's an idea, talk to me, talk to George, talk to Lana. I think that is a difference between our neighbors. We work together in this country. So we don't have two hubs in one country, it's the Qatar FinTech Hub, and everyone is supporting that. And that's why we can help FinTech companies from Australia to be successful here.
Fantastic to hear. And you have mentioned a very important point. Industries are interconnected nowadays because of technology. So cyber tech can be supporting a fintech, can be supporting other industries as well. So that's very true. And it is great to see the recognition of that and the willingness to support any fintech or technology company that would like to join Qatar in supporting their vision and in supporting the growth of Qatar. And you have as well mentioned that you have many family offices, investors, angel investors, and VCs. Excuse me. And I will go to George here. If you could, George, share with us a little bit about the activities with the capital market. How much are startups getting access to funding, and what do you advise startups looking to raise funding from Qatar?
Thanks, Ayman. Also a very interesting question. See, I will go a step back towards the value proposition of the FinTech Hub, and specifically the value proposition of the incubator and accelerator programs. So why these programs got recognized quickly, though we've been operational for the last few months. So we had our first cohort back in the Q3, Q4 2020, whereby these programs were run for a period of 3 years. So in the first cohort, we were focusing mainly on the payment industry, which is a regulated industry in all economies. To be honest with you, the regulation for the payment industry are not yet disclosed by the regulator in Qatar till this point of time, but we are working closely with the regulator in order to push this regulation forward. So as part of the first cohort, the main focus was towards digital wallet, digital remittance, cross-border payment, QR code, acquiring and issuing services in addition to cashless and cardless solution. And then since we had some lessons learned from the first cohort, we designed the second cohort, which is going to be launched in the coming couple of weeks towards the emerging technologies within the financial institution. And when we speak about emerging technologies, probably this sector and the subsectors are not subject to strict regulation. So we are leveraging on these opportunities moving forward with the program. Talking about the incentives that Qatar FinTech Hub provide, in addition to the access to market or access to regulators and stakeholders, we're providing equity funding. Since we have an SPV under Qatar Development Bank, and then we have an investment department in place who work closely with angel investors and the VCs, venture capitalists, in order to consider certain investment in those startup companies. So probably the equity investment is one of the incentives within the platform of Qatar FinTech Hub. Since we're moving quickly towards the second cohort and respectively the third cohort by end of the year, the opportunity will be around InsurTech or certain solutions for SMEs, specifically digital and technology solution. And it worth mentioning also that Islamic finance would remain a gap, and there are so many opportunities within the Islamic finance, since some of the reputable banks here are Islamic banks by nature. So you have now 3 large Islamic banks in the country. In addition to these opportunities, the wealth tech, reg tech, and probably legal tech are going to be considered among the upcoming opportunities. This is it in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, George. And it has been a pleasure actually to work with the Qatari FinTech Hub since its infancy, and seeing you guys grow rapidly in a very short period of time, as well as supporting all the startups that applied for your program. And thank you for sharing with us that the application for the second round is open at the moment, I believe. And I encourage all the startups that have interest from the FinTech industry to apply directly to the team. I believe they will be able to help you. Here at Hajj Quarter as well, we will be able to help you. But I want to ask some more question, and it is a general question, and do please choose if you would like to answer it. What is the main advice you would give to a startup when they come to Qatar?
Shall I take it, Ayman, on the Hank?
Please do. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you.
Answer from all of you, actually, because every you have a different perspective to that question.
Thank you. It's worth mentioning that one of our objectives is to identify and attract some advanced technology or some successful business cases from developed countries like Australia. So when we talk about technology transfer, we also, from the global perspective, we also talk about localization of this technology from the local perspective. So it's very important for us to identify and bring over such advanced technology, but also we have some appetite to get these technologies localized in the local market. To a certain extent, maybe 30% localization or 40% localization. So the advice for these companies to consider certain local partnership, because getting into a new market without knowing certain techniques and tactics on how to penetrate the market and how to participate in the tenders that pertain to those opportunities might be a challenge for someone who's new to the market. So considering the localization in addition to the partnership with a local partner, either an entrepreneur or investor, is highly recommended.
That's some solid advice. Thank you so much. Ms. Lana, would you like to share with us your perspective into what would you leave startups and what advice would you give them?
Sure. Number one is reach out to us. To be honest, we are here all on this call just for this reason. I think the main message I would leave you is don't come alone. I think what Qatar is providing is a startup support and amazing opportunities for you to thrive under the partnership that we're doing in the country. All of us, from QDB to Qatar FinTech Hub to embassies to Microsoft to many other partners. So reach out to these partnerships that will be able to enable you, because this is how, as George said, because there will be some customization that need to be done, how to be able to respond to certain opportunities. And so, to be honest, we, as Microsoft, for example, today we are betting on some startups. So I'm actually utilizing some startups in some of our implementations. So reach out to this ecosystem that the country is building and start from there. And definitely we will see some of you soon in the country.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I can second that. The ecosystem there is very friendly and welcoming. They're generous with their advice and time. As you guys can see, our audience can see today, we have leaders at the forefront of the ecosystem there. Dear Henk, what advice would you leave startup with? And I will leave the answer for you.
Yeah, so first of all, not only startups, but also scale-ups are welcome. And sometimes scale-ups, you know, they have gone through the early phases and actually have solutions and know how to talk to the future customers. And that helps as well. So don't ignore Qatar. I think you guys, specifically for the accelerator program that George mentioned, I think you guys are more than welcome. What I would advise, because I understand it's very difficult to travel now from Australia, is it? I think you have a travel sort of ban even to leave the country. So,
yes, and we have 14 days isolation when you come back.
Yeah, so use that time to reach out and prepare yourself well. There's certain segments here that are a bit crowded, like, you know, payments, cards and wallets, but there are other areas which are not yet developed too much. And I think Lana mentioned it, you know, for instance, SME. You know, we don't have an SME digital bank here. There are great opportunities, I would say, in financing SMEs or discounting invoices, factoring or whatever. And if you guys have certain technology around that, then that would be great also for the banks and the providers of money here. So think about these opportunities. We have a large workforce and obviously financial inclusion is an important topic for the central bank. And if you have ideas around that, that could help. The other area where all the banks are, all the countries are afraid of is anything anti-money laundering. So solutions there, maybe around RegTech or control over remittances, etc. If you have solutions already, ideas, please come over. Well, first, not come over, first call us and we will bring you into contact with possible parties. And then the moment you guys can travel, you know, our borders are open.
Thank you so much for that, Henk, and thank you to all our panelists. We are almost finished the 1 hour. I have a million questions and we have received a million questions that would like to have some answers. I will try to get the answers from your team and share it with our ecosystem. As well, Qatari startups, investors, and ecosystem are welcome in Australia. We would love to help you and tell you more about it. Again, thank you for our panelists. Thank you to Your Excellency, Mr. Jonathan, for joining us. It was unfortunate that we couldn't have Mr. Abdulaziz Al Khalifa with us today, and hopefully we will have him with us in the next webinar that we could hold. Thank you to our audience for joining us today, for sending all your beautiful questions and for your knowledge, as well as what you want to learn more about the ecosystem in Qatar. I will leave you today with my gratitude to the panelists for joining us, for our speakers, and for everyone who have joined us. If you need any question or you would like to learn about the ecosystem in Qatar, as per our panelists, do reach out directly to them. If you find it difficult, reach out to us and we will connect you with them. Until next time, have a great evening here for Australian. Have a great day to our friends and partners in Qatar. Thank you, Qatar FinTech Hub, for the partnership and working with us. And we look forward to growing the economy in the two countries together. Thank you.